Have you guys also noticed that right now is a pretty crazy period for crypto? I mean, seriously, we are in a crazy bull run from the perspective that basically anybody who bought in the entire last year would be in pretty massive amounts of profit right now. But we're not in that bull run phase yet where everything just goes absolutely crazy. I'm talking like 50 or 80% gains in a day, which you see at peak times in a bull run. But perhaps that's also because everything is just pretty confusing. I mean, if you take a look at the news, on the one side, we've got things like FTX bringing in massive amounts of fear. On the opposite side, we've also got guys like Kevin O'Leary bringing in tons of fear with regards to Binance. He basically said this: Binance will be history soon. Shark Tank investor Kevin O'Leary, who is extremely well known and very influential, speaks out on the future of the crypto exchange. Now, we should remember he was paid like $19 million or so to shill FTX, so his words don't really resonate with me too much. I am just sharing and stating the fear that's out there due to guys like him, and just the fear in general with exchanges right now. And of course, we've got guys like our best friend Gary Gensler, who also make the entire space confusing right now by being so neutral towards a Bitcoin ETF. What I mean there is that they're not approving it, but not denying it either. They're just extending it, just delaying it further and further and further, which means there's no progress at all. In theory, if it got delayed, they'd have a reason as to why. If it got approved, well, you'd probably already know by now then. Them keeping it in like a little neutral zone here is basically the worst outcome, but we all know it's coming. It's just a matter of when at this point. And I'd say a question is, how hard will things rebound? Here is an analyst who predicts XRP rebound after whales move millions of XRP. I want to tell you guys real quick, if you see whales moving money, it does not mean you can just follow them and make the same amount of money. Or I should say, you can make the same money on the same type of move. You got to understand, whenever there's somebody selling, there's somebody buying. And whales are moving money all the time. If you find the right smart money address, sometimes you can find a guy by looking through either on-chain transactions, random wallets, or on a couple of little tracker websites, because people look for these outliers all the time, and you can sometimes follow their major moves. If you've got lucky, you got yourself an address of a very big algorithmic trading firm, and this is where they stack their major moves, where they buy major altcoins or a VC for them from that perspective that buys in via that wallet. It's very specific, very unlikely, but plausible, all right? Anyway, I've said it in the past and I'll say it again. I think guys like Fidelity, BlackRock, and whoever is filing right now have got a pretty persuasive argument for obviously getting that Bitcoin or Ethereum ETF approved. And so the SEC can't really do much. We know gains are coming purely based on that speculation alone. And another interesting thing is, I'm seeing right now as well from a different side just how much pressure these guys on the top are pushing to keep control over it all from both sides. On the one end, there's guys like this man right here who are hopeful, in my opinion, to just get attention by being very pro-crypto. On the opposite side, guys like Gary Gensler, who try to get attention by being as negative towards crypto as possible. But he does bring up an interesting point, which is, we do need a framework. Like every country, theoretically speaking, needs frameworks for crypto, because right now, it's all being seen as illegal and bad stuff and bad actors. But in reality, most things crypto are pretty good. On the opposite side, I think any country making a framework is probably going to get it wrong. And the question is, will that hurt or basically relieve things at the start more? Now, these type of articles here, I'm always a little bit skeptical with because it always feels like they're sponsored. All I wanted to say about it was, this was the most clicked article of today. This AI crypto rally, yada, yada, yada. And that made me realize again, though, that whatever I'm telling you here, the bull market vibes are back way stronger than ever. I'm seeing more than ever meme coin creations, more than ever meme coin type of groups, more people looking for these coins like I always suggest you guys to do. And from that perspective, I think that this bull market is going to be even way crazier because right now retail is not fully in yet, even though we are retail. I'm talking about the people who see crypto on TV and then start going crazy on the first coin that they can find themselves. I'm talking about the fact that right now people are already actively looking for gains and they're succeeding with it too, which means that we are already in a little bit further of a part of the bull run than I had originally anticipated. And man, I keep seeing questions of all these different tokens as well, which once more confirms my theory of we are further along in the bull run in terms of interest and, yeah, I'd say general retail interest than would be logical for this point within the cycle. The amount of people that have asked me to talk about 𝗂𝗂, for example, it's pumping, by the way, it's doing really well, partially because of a Binance listing, and a lot of listings are making coins do really well right now. Again, particular in a bull run, you see instead of a 10%, 20% pump of a listing, you start seeing these 55, 500, whatever. It just depends on how small the coin was, type of pumps. It's interesting to see that again. And it's not only Binance, by the way. I'd say the most important other exchanges to watch are every Korean exchange, 𝗕𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, because those are market movers, you know. Anyway, I should also add that within the next year or so, many things with regards to crypto will change. Things like Ripple going for an IPO, I think an XRP ETF, but also on a different side. Things like all these different SEC lawsuits, which at some point will have to be over. And it begs the question, what's going to happen to all these different coins that were involved in some SEC-related lawsuit? Like, for example, an Cardano. I'm extremely bullish on ADA. I think they're pretty awesome. But you do wonder what would happen if the SEC went with their ban hammer a little bit harder. I don't think it's going to happen, but most likely that could be one of the things that brings the bull market down. Right now, as it stands, I am speculating, and I think you guys can hold this quite certain, that the big downfall in 2025 is going to be either the SEC or some sort of agency that has a lot of influence that are going to crack down or build a bad framework for crypto. And it's going to be so bearish that the crypto bull market fades. My prediction, and I think it makes a whole lot of sense, which is why I said before our strategy as to how we're going to sell. But I've said it before, selling your entire crypto stash, it's a part, but for the most part, I think people watching this channel, if you want to make those real crazy bucks, it's going to have to come off of trading. But there's two different sides, all right? I personally think people find the line between trading and investing quite difficult, because it is. If you, for example, buy something, a meme coin, with the intention of selling it again, I'd say it all depends on how long you're holding it for, whether or not we call it a trade or an investment, or let's just for simplicity's sake call it both. You're making an investment, but since you're planning to relatively quickly sell it again, you're basically speculating / trading. But you gotta understand, the reason I show you guys platforms like BYBIT so much is because of the amount of money that you can make with it. I know a lot of you guys are not allowed over on BYBIT, but if you are, I've left the link down below because you can get so many bonuses for free for just signing up. But I'll add another thing. First of all, I think the best method to make crazy amounts of money is this trade investment mixture, meaning you've got yourself an investment portfolio. This is important because you don't want to rely only on trading, at least in my opinion. But as the bull market progresses, we go crazier and crazier on the quicker flips. And a lot of those flips are going to have to rely on exchange listings. But for the most part, as I stated before, a lot of people will be in that park where they're not trying to preserve their wealth, but accumulate wealth. And to that notion, I sometimes say too, it's like you see right here, right? We'll talk about these numbers a little bit more in just a second, actually. But people can very easily make their money last further by using leverage. I'm saying it's risky right now. Don't go leverage trading straight to the bat if you don't know what you're doing. I've made multiple tutorials about it, and I've got a couple of tutorials coming out soon. But I just find it interesting how many people don't know just how big of a business this is. You can see these individuals, right? These are just individual persons. This guy's called Mr. Frog, is trading a couple $100 million worth. And fun fact, this guy doesn't need to have tens of millions of dollars or hundreds of millions. This guy could literally have $20,000 in his account, use a lot of leverage and potentially some high frequency trading. But now just because this guy moved a lot of money, he's getting himself a $13,000 reward. And that's why I keep saying sign up to these things. Whenever there's a competition, I'll leave a link to this competition down below. Sign up for it, because even if you do not win fully, see there's 15 pages of winners here. People who just get some money for free for potentially not even doing anything special, just doing the normal job, doing the normal trading. But in the profit and loss section, another good example. This is percentage meaning that somebody can just make one trade, get lucky, and now get $13,000. Because that's seriously how a lot of people get to the top here. They open up an account with, let's say, $1,000. They open up a 100x leverage position and just hope that it goes into the right direction. If it doesn't, open a new account, try again, or not necessarily account, but just a new position, for example. And as I've stated before, if you use the link down below, there's a couple tricks, but if you use the link down below, you always get yourself a pretty juicy bonus. But also there's a lot of other benefits that we don't have enough time to go over today. Let's just say you've got yourself competitions. I can do giveaways too. Like a while back, we gave away like, I think 5 or 10 ledgers or just cold hard cash, $10,000, $20,000. You've got to understand, it's only for the people that have used the link down below, meaning it's only a select group. And if you didn't use the link, your bonus will always be less. I've stated that many times too. But anyway, I just think it's so sad that places like the US have restricted leverage. I mean, Coinbase is coming up right now. I think they're adding more and more and more of these options. But if you think about it, the US has done a lot of things to keep the people safe, right? That's what you might say. Gary Gensler says leverage is not good because people go too crazy on the money. But then I start thinking, casinos are still open and eligible to nearly anybody. So why is that allowed and why are you not allowed to buy into an IPO? Well, you need to be an accredited investor to buy Ripple stock. Why? Why exactly would that need to be? And it always comes down to this. Lobbying, I think. In politics, they are just saying, hey, this casino business is saying, no, we need to keep this open. But on another side, they're thinking the US investors are too stupid to buy stock or to leverage trade, for example. It's not true, because at the end of the day, people can make a lot better odds / money with leverage trading or pre-IPO investing than with literal gambling in a casino. But for some reason, as I said before, there's too much money in that system, keeping a lot of you guys from doing really interesting things in the name of safety. I always find that too funny. Anyway, talking about safety things, a lot of people keep asking me, Dusty, why are you still so bullish on XRP? And I'll say it again. I think XRP has not done well in the previous run. And for that reason, I believe that this run is going to be so much crazier. I'm talking about the 2021 bull run because XRP was in that lawsuit with the SEC, but I think a lot of the frustration, a lot of the resistances are going to be very easily broken because XRP is that type of coin. It's a coin based on a lot of hype, but also a lot of very heavy moves. I think the moment that it does move, it's going to be a hard one, but it just takes that initial spark. And I think that spark might also be the dollar mark, like a lot of people anticipated, because, for example, when the lawsuit ended, it went to about 95 cents. And I keep saying I think that was suppression, potentially by Ripple, potentially by market makers. They, and this is my own prediction, and I am pretty sure this happened, but the market makers that handle the XRP price in a lot of places, potentially with Ripple's control, this is up to, not up to us because I can't know for sure. But they sold so hard their XRP that they've been accumulating for a while because they knew this was going to happen at some point. They sold so hard to keep the price under $1, to not get the craziest of pump and dumps going. Because obviously, if the price went to such a crazy height in such a bearish period, yeah, that would have definitely been bad. You want to sometimes minimize the volatility a bit, but they basically did that so they would now have a more sustainable and more logical, more coherent, run with regards to the other cryptos. You got to understand, if this coin went 750% in a day, it would dump by a very good margin the next. It potentially have so much fear then that it would never be able to recover. But if you minimize the crazy pump in a period where you don't want to see it just quite yet, there's a potential for 1,500% gains, 2,500% gains within the next couple of months, but then sustainable with not a massive crash afterwards. But yeah, those are just my thoughts. At the end of the day, though, I never hold just one crypto. I'm bullish on a ton of them, as there are a ton of different cryptos that have got a very good value proposition. And I keep saying a lot of different cryptos have different risks too. You should even always consider that most cryptos have got themselves some SEC risk as well, which XRP luckily does not have anymore. And again, I'll also tell you guys, if you didn't know anything about those South Korean premiums and why the XRP price went to like $3.96 on a lot of exchanges, a lot of it has to do with Korea. Korea is a really interesting place for crypto. But we'll talk about that pretty soon, maybe even tomorrow, I think, because I've got an interesting story about that. But yeah, if you're wondering how high can we go, I personally think the bull run is going to end at 150K. Some guys are predicting as high as $700,000 in the peak of the next season, huh? I'm staying conservative on this one, but relatively, I think some coins can actually do these types of gains. And at the end of the day, you don't know because so much money is going to flow in from BlackRock and those guys that it could be completely out of proportion. But I guess we'll have to see. That was about it for this video. Hopefully see you guys again a little bit later or tomorrow, who knows.